Let me know when we're broadcasting. Listen, Kelly, first off, I want to say how proud of you I am for getting us live on Facebook. Guys, you don't know the workup that we had to get to this point. Literally, Kelly Walter, who often joins us for these webinars, is one that's the logistical queen. She was the one that gets us live and gets us streaming. And then she charged Kelly and I to take the lead and do all the logistics, right? So both she and I are both like Facebook and live handicap. So we crippled our way through it, but welcome to the Money Wise Wednesday, right,
This
Kelly?
is like Christmas for us. We did it.
It is a present. And listen. I don't know if we're more excited or Kelly's gonna be excited whenever she figure out we was able to launch this thing and get it ready and rock and roll. Guys, welcome to Money Wise Wednesday. I'm Herschel Holloway, and I've got my partner with me. Kelly, go ahead and introduce yourself for those that don't know you.
Hi, I'm Kelly Merck.
And today we're going to be offering you guys a credit card course, right? So we're going to be exchanging some information. While it's not a lot of information for those that have heard some of our content in the past, it's replicated. It's replicated because it's relevant. And if it wasn't relevant, we wouldn't be repeating it. But these topics can be inserted into whatever life experience that you're going through at whatever particular moment, right? So make sure that it adapts to whatever it is that you've got going on. And the reason we paired this credit card webinar is because we're approaching what, Kelly?
The holiday season.
The holiday season. So if you've watched some of our past, most recent episodes, we've been kind of catering everything toward this timeline of the season of giving. But this could also be the season of taking. And we don't want you to be taking by one, fraud or identity theft, but more so we don't want you to be taken by way of blowing your budget, your expenses that you're required to take care of on a monthly basis. We want to make sure we keep you in that boundary box that you've now designed for yourself. So this is more of a reminder than anything, right? So before we began, we knew that Kelly and I were going to be hosting this thing, and we decided to create some content, some visual aids that helps us along this journey. So I'm going to turn it over to Kelly really quick, just so she can do a quick screen share. Myself, I'm going to be leading this webinar, but I'm definitely going to be engaging Kelly because she brings a tremendous amount of information also on this topic. So Kelly, if you will, let's go ahead and get our content pulled up.
Fingers crossed that I do as well on
crossed,
this.
Kelly. Are you watching, Kelly? Are you watching? You're probably sitting somewhere watching, guys. We're going to do this. We're excited. Look at that.
Woo!
Screen share. All right. So basically credit card usage. We're going to be talking about credit card usage, the do's, the don'ts, the rights, the wrongs, but it simply starts with what? A swipe. Simply what it starts with is a swipe. So whenever we were planning on building this content, one of the first slides that I made, and Kelly, she slapped me on the hand. She's like, Hersh, you can't do that slide. I'm like, which slide? What's in your wallet? I'm like, oh man, I forget. That's like a tagged phrase. So listen, what cards are in your wallet is what we're going to ask. Me personally, I carry a number of different cards only because the cards that I carry as a personal consumer benefits me in my lifestyle of how I live it, right? So I've got a rewards card that I really take advantage of because I often travel. I do a lot of reward redemption by way of hotel redemption, fuel redemption, gift card redemption. But I also have an emergency card that everyone in my family carries that has equal access. That's our emergency expense card, right? But I also have a card with a higher limit for some of those impulse purchases that I know that I have the means to make and the resources to transfer those funds back over to that card, right? Without having to access my immediate liquidity in my checking account. And I'm going to go into a little bit of detail to show you what that looks like and how to kind of protect yourself from some of those large purchases. Kelly, what are you carrying in your wallet nowadays? What's in Kelly's wallet?
So nowadays, I don't really carry that much in my wallet. I try and be very good about it. I keep my card in my wallet that if I had a major emergency and I needed something taken care of right away, I have that available. I have my Envision debit card because I try to put almost everything I do on my debit card versus my credit card. And then I do have an emergency credit card for smaller balances with a low interest rate. So if I had something come up that I just needed to get, I could put it on that card and know that my interest rate is a lot lower than it would be if I put it on anything else.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I think you've got the kind of wallet portfolio, I would say, for credit cards that a lot of consumers are carrying now. You know, that range for those that really truly understand and know how to use credit cards. I think we're kind of comparable with how we carry our cards. Let's go ahead and progress to the next slide if you want.
Well, and let me just add, I have a lot of other cards that I've kept over the years because it helps with my credit score.
Mhm.
Those don't go anywhere with me. I want to make sure that I have those because I've had them the longest and that helps out. But so I'm not tempted to use them. I keep them in my drawer.
I understand. I understand. Kelly, you know, a lot of the myths surrounding credit cards, I think prevent a lot of consumers from taking advantage of the credit card positives because they're so focused on the negatives about the potential of carrying a credit card. What are some of the things that you've heard consumers share with you throughout your financial tenure as to why they don't carry cards or why they'll never receive cards? What are some of those things you're hearing?
So a lot of times people don't know how to go about getting a card.
Hmm.
They don't know, they think it's a little too complicated. You know, you see cards all over the place, you get card offers in the mail. Um, Sometimes people will apply for a card when they're younger and not get it. So they automatically assume that they're never going to get it.
Hmm.
So they're not going to apply again because they're going to get turned down again.
Right. So rejection.
Another thing is a lot of times people go off of what they've learned growing up. So if you, I was one of these people. I had a parent that never did credit, never used credit, never explained why, just said, if I'm going to pay for something, I'm going to pay cash for it.
Mhm.
And so growing up, that's all I ever heard. You never get credit, you never get credit, you never get credit. And just a little insight, what happened to me here is when I did get credit, I didn't know how to use it because I never had that conversation. And I made a few mistakes along the way and it hurt me for a couple of years. So, you know, you have to be cautious about what the reasons why you don't get a card and educate yourself and then make an informed decision whether you're going to get credit or not.
Oh, that thank you for sharing that. That makes and again, us humanizing ourselves lets our viewers and our members and our followers know that mistakes happen even for those that may have the skill set to understand how credit cards work and the do's and don'ts and ins and outs. The past mistakes that I think all of us have made have brought us to where we are now. And it just so happens that we are within the financial arena now. So we go a little bit deeper with our understanding while a lot of our viewers and consumers out in the credit card world, it's still surface, and we want to go a little bit deeper so that you can understand the I guess the depth of the usage of a credit card because it can help you and it can hurt you. And we're going to get into that here in just a few moments. But I want to shift focus to this slide really quick. It says number of card holders in the U.S. The number of card holders in 2018 was 182 million. That's card holders, Kelly. That's card holders, plastic card holders. A growth of about 16.5% compared to 7 years ago in 2011. So we've grown 16.5% from 2011 to 2018. The trend is by 2023, the number is predicted to grow nearly 6% to 193 million. So we're thinking from 2011 to 2023, there will be over 193 million card holders, right? Kelly, this stat was taken from wallethub.com, but this source was offered a number of years ago prior to what we're experiencing now. Oh my goodness, I don't even want to get into it. I digress, right?
No.
Oh my goodness. That is scary to know that just normal everyday living has shown us that the number is trending, right? But then when you move into
Absolutely.
emergency living and emergency situations where you need additional income or additional or supplemental income, what do you think we're going to defer to? Let's go ahead and progress to the next slide, Kelly. This is exciting. I love credit cards, right? So I'm going to ask you to go ahead and take a peek at this one and kind of share your thoughts.
So I'm not going to read everything word for word, but I will. So the average number of credit cards in 1 year, so we're comparing 2018 to 2019. The average number of credit cards went up almost 1%. Average credit card balances went up almost 2%, so 1.89%. So people are putting more on their cards this year than they were last year. So they're getting more cards and they're putting more on them.
Mhm.
Average credit card balance per capita is around, went up about 5.28%. Average number of retail cards. And so retail cards are the cards that you get at Best Buy, the gas stores, different things like that, where it's only good at that location. Those are actually down a little bit, 3%, but the average retail credit card balances are up. So people are getting less store cards, but they're still putting bigger balances on them.
Yeah.
Average non-mortgage debt. So not including your mortgage, but it would include your cards, your vehicles, things like that. That's actually up 1% from 2018 to 2019. And average mortgage debt is up 11.25%. And that's just in 1 year. So now if you take into consideration everything that's happened this year with COVID and job losses and things like that, just imagine what the stats are going to be for this year. You just have to be super careful. Now is the best time to be super vigilant on what you're putting on your cards, what you're spending, and what you're using them for.
I couldn't agree more. I think with the current state of what we're experiencing now, Kelly, and I think I alluded to it here shortly ago, but I mean, look at the rise in unemployment, right? Look at everything. Look at the rise in food costs and everyday living needs that we're experiencing now that we didn't think we would, or we didn't plan, or we didn't prepare for this, right? So
Right.
with those sudden changes and need, what do you think a lot of the consumers are going to defer to?
Well, the perfect thing would be to cut back on expenses as it happens. But, in the real world, we all think that we still need everything that we needed prior to whatever crisis happened that caused an income loss. And so instead of cutting back right away, it's just going on credit card balances or personal loans or taking out the home, taking money against your home and different things like that. So we haven't yet learned to cut back.
Right.
We're just adding to the debt that we already have in hopes that everything will balance itself out.
I like how you said that we're adding to it versus cutting back. And that's a huge component of budget building and staying within those parameters that we shared with you at the beginning of the webinar. We want to help and remind you that you built those parameters for a specific reason. It's to create stability for your financial future. And if you're not often being reminded of what your goals or your intentions are, be it you want to hear it or not, then it falls by the wayside. So again, this is just another reminder for you all to stand by the commitment that you made to yourself and for your future. And I think Kelly has said it in the past, multiple times is, you've got to live within your means, but first and foremost, you've got to be honest with yourself. You've got to be honest with yourself. And for her to say that and say that she had that personal challenge herself, and I know we're talking about Kelly, but she is such a prime example of humanizing herself on the screen for the world to see, and challenge all of her teammates to do the same. That's why the rapport is so flush and so fluid whenever we decide that we want to bring this information to you all, because we feel like we're talking amongst friends and amongst family, right? So again, this is not to beat or bash you. It's only a simple reminder to do what you've committed to do, and that's stand by your budget. Don't blow your money on things that doesn't really truly make sense for an immediate need.
Herschel, it's so true. And you don't think about it, and anybody can do it. It doesn't matter if you're just starting out or if you find yourself in a situation and you're just like, oh, I have this card.
Yeah.
I'm just going to use it this one time. And then it may be another time and another time. And then you've got yourself in a situation that you feel hopeless.
I agree. Kelly, the purpose of a credit card, I mean, like, seriously, to me, like, these are the prime reasons as to why a credit card is needed, right? It helps build credit for those future needs that you may not be able to purchase with cash. And those needs range from homes, mortgages, right? Big, large 30-year commitment mortgages. We've got, 3, 4, and 5-year car loans, auto loans that, normal consumers can't go out and drop $30,000-$40,000 on. Those are the needs to build credit, but the credit is established by showing your behaviors through credit card usage and other small line usage, right? It offers convenience for those purchases And I shared with you at the beginning of the webinar, the convenience that it gives me is that I don't have to swipe my debit card if it's a purchase. For instance, if I'm traveling, which I often do, I'm not swiping my debit card at that merchant sale to allow access to my checking account. That's my liquid
Right.
funds. That's the money that I worked hard for, that I live on, that I save, that I want to do these special things for me and my family. That's my money. I work hard. And at times like this, whenever you're making a claim, if your account has been compromised, sometimes it can take an extended period of time to justify your claim and then replenish those funds at times. And I'm just being completely honest with you, right? It's not the institution. Sometimes it's just the process, right? But we're needy as consumers and as humans, and we feel like if we can't see it and it's not there, then we're not going to get it, and that causes discomfort, right? So I use my credit card, guys. I use my credit card for purchases like that so that it doesn't tap into my liquidity, which could compromise my account, potential fraud. But if it does for that credit card, guess whose money that is? It's not mine. It's borrowed money. So it's up to the credit card company holder to correct that fraud that occurred. But guess what? I still have my money in my account that nobody's touching. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to wait for the credit card to reconcile whatever may have happened. It's not my responsibility. It offers security. Again, like on top of that, make emergency purchases, cashback and reward options. What are some ways you use your credit cards, Kelly, if I may?
So again, to build my credit is pretty good now, but I am, as I always make reference to, I'm the older one out of the group. So, as you get older, your credit should be in a pretty good situation. So it's not so much for building credit anymore, but it's very convenient. If I go to the store, I don't have to carry all kinds of things with me. I don't have to bring cash. I can swipe the card. And like you said, it does offer security. So if you have fraud on your card, it's not touching your account. There's nothing worse than using your debit card and having some type of fraud. And then it takes a few days for that to get put back in your account. And it's more of a hassle than anything. And then making emergency purchases. I mean, we all have them.
Yeah.
Right after we bought our current house, our air conditioning system went out.
Ooh, Lord.
Yeah. And, and it's always nice to have those things. On my birthday a couple weeks ago, I got a flat tire. I did use my debit card for that, but back in the day, I couldn't have used my debit card for that. I wouldn't have had that kind of money available. So I would have used my credit card. And hopefully it would have been one of my lower interest rate cards that I could have paid back within a few months. And then I love the cashback options for myself. And so if I'm going to make a decent purchase and I know especially that I'll get extra points on it, I'll use my cards that way.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I think those are probably the top usages of a credit card. Let's go ahead and progress over to the next slide. Ways not to use your credit card. Kelly, go ahead and take this. And I want you to take it away. And I ask you to do that for a certain reason, because Member Solutions is a department within Envision that you worked at in the past. And that Member Solutions group really dove into these types of instances that has compromised that member's relationship with the financial stability that they were seeking, right? So that's why I asked you to read this slide and provide some context, because you probably got quite a bit of experience behind this.
Sure. So ways not to use your card. Top one, and I'm glad that Herschel put it at the top, cash advances. You don't really think about it when you're doing it. You're just like, oh, I can use my card to get cash. Yeah. Well, that cash advance is going to come with a fee in the beginning. And most of the time, it costs you more to borrow that money. The interest rates are going to be higher. So you're getting cash, you're going to spend it out of sight, out of mind, but you're paying more for it in the front end and you're paying more for it in the back end. Using it as supplemental income. The other Kelly likes to say, when you've got more month than you've got money.
Yeah, you got a problem. You got a problem, right?
Yeah. If you've got more month than you have money and you're starting to use your credit cards as supplemental income, it's going to be a problem, because it's not just 1 month that you may do that. If you have more month than you have money 1 month and nothing's changing for the next month and you're not changing your spending habits, it's going to keep happening. And before you know it, that card is going to be maxed out. And then you might be going to the next one. But remember, you still have to make the payments on that and you've got interest due. So a good thing to think about is that cup of coffee worth 20% interest to
Hmm.
drink that cup of coffee.
Ooh, listen, Auntie Kelly, I never thought of it that way. That cup of coffee really worth 20% interest. Oh my goodness, I never thought of that.
You know,
Thank
my,
you.
my coffee pot at home works just as well, and I don't have to pay interest on it. So
This is
another thing to do is to make sure you don't use it like it's the money that you have sitting in your checking account, because it's not. It's money that you're borrowing from somebody else. The money that's in your account, you earn that money and that's your money. The money that's on your card, you're going to pay to use that money. So although you earn the right to get that line of credit, it is exactly that. It's a line of credit. It's something that you have to pay back. So
Hmm.
just try and keep that in mind, that that money is available to you, but you have to pay it back. And if you don't pay it back, then it's going to go back to the credit problem. It's going to affect your credit, and that's going to affect your ability to borrow in the future. We see that a lot. People have lines of credit, and credit card companies can also take away lines of credit.
Absolutely.
So if you're not cautious with your credit card spending, and those credit card companies see that and they see that you're paying late, they'll take it away. Not all of them, but most of them will, or they'll raise your interest rate. So, you may start out with a 9.99% interest rate, but based on your spending and your ability to pay back, they might bump that up to 18, 19, 20% interest just based on your spending.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny for me because you always think about it as, well, they gave it to me to spend. They did, but you really have to know how to weigh out those balances. And then other ways, Herschel, do you have a couple other ways that you might think that people use their cards that they really shouldn't?
Oh Lord, yes. Maybe right. So as a victim uh uh of doing this exact same thing, right? I'm just as big as a bad person making some of these decisions and some of my money concepts prior to my gaining experience. Yes. For instance, unplanned and unbudgeted vacations, right? That spur of the moment, you feel like you need a break from the real world and you want to escape reality for a little bit. Yeah, that's called an unplanned vacation. Staycations are an alternative, right? Turn off your work phone, shut off the computer, just kind of relax, kick back, and do things for yourself personally, right? Remove yourself from the stress. It doesn't have to always entail you swiping your card. I can promise you that. Impulse purchases, those gotta haves, right? Those gotta haves whenever in reality, you ain't gotta have it. I'm just being honest with you, right? Bridging paydays, that's a big one. That's another example of supplemental income. You're living off inflated income. If you're making, you know, $2,500 a month, so to say, but your liabilities and your bills total up to be $3,500, right? Where are you going to get that extra $1,000 that you need to make things happen, right? You're going to probably do a cash advance, and then you're going to use the credit card, the credit line for the supplemental income that you need to make that month last. Forgive me, to make that money last for the length of the month, right?
And
So,
Herschel, one that I can think of too off the top of my head that we didn't talk about was, I think a lot of people can relate to this. People don't like to talk about money. So, when you have kids and they want stuff, or they want to go and do this or want to do that with their friends, and, as parents, we tend to not like to say no or explain why that's not possible. And I think that's a way that people get themselves into a lot of trouble, is that they have a really hard time saying no. And things cost a lot of money.
they do.
And when you're trying to cut back and do things here and there, and you really don't want to let the kids know, well, we really can't afford to do that. And then, well, the
Pride.
card's here.
Pride. Did
Even
you say pride? Pride.
yes, my
Pride.
4-year-old granddaughter, if I hand her a dollar bill, she doesn't know what that is, but she's like, "Let me have your card so I can swipe it."
Yeah. Magic money is what my kids
Yeah.
call it. Magic money. You make
So
money on that plastic thing, Daddy. I'm like,
yeah.
what? Like, what's the
Yep.
value of money to you now? It's a swipe. That's what the value of a dollar is to those that don't understand what a true value of a dollar is. Kelly, thank you for exchanging that information for us. Let's go ahead and progress to the next slide.
Okay.
What am I paying back? Credit card interest is what you are paying back that you charge throughout the month. You don't pay your credit card bill in full each month, so you're making a payment. It works as a daily rate calculated by dividing your annual percentage rate by 365 and then multiplying your current balance by the daily rate. that amount is then added to your bill. Do you get that? Right. So as complex as that may sound, you're being charged daily on your balance. And then at the end of the month, that's being added to your bill, guys. That's what you're paying back. So like Kelly said, is that cup of coffee really worth 20% in the long run? It's really truly not. You know what I mean? Just the simple fact of knowing that you're paying back excessively more than what you charge, it deters me from even wanting to swipe unless it's for a benefit from me in the long game. For instance, the rewards, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How do you feel about the interest rates and things of that nature that you're having to explain to consumers that they're going to be paying back whenever they decide to exceed their budget by using credit cards or even maxing their limit? What are your thoughts on that interest rate, Kelly?
You know, I worked, as Herschel made reference to, I worked in the member solutions department, which is our collections area. And I worked there for about 11 and a half years. And what I found is that people don't really think about the interest rate. They think about their payment. They think, well, I'm putting it on credit. Every credit card has interest, so no big deal. And they just worry about their regular payment amount. But if you really take it that one step further and just think about how much that cup of coffee is costing you, and even if you're putting it on your debit card and you know that you don't have the money in your account, just think about that overdraft fee as well, because it's the same thing.
It is.
It's the same thing. I mean, can you imagine spending $35 for a cup of coffee from the store down the street?
It happens.
And I mean, it happens with the interest rates on credit cards. I mean, I don't know what the maximum credit card rate is, but we'll just use 20%, but 20% is a lot. And if you don't pay that cup of coffee off next month or the month after because you have other things on there, it ends up costing you a lot of money. And my experience is that people don't really think about it. And I will say, and I know I keep making this personal, but it is personal because we've all been there at some point in our life. You don't think about it when you're caught up in the moment, right? It's easy for me to sit here now and say, well, I wouldn't do that. But there was a point when I did do that.
Absolutely.
And then you get so overwhelmed that you just are like, how do I get out of this? And so do yourself a favor and just think about it when you're swiping. Just say, you know, do I really need this bad?
Yeah, true story. True story. Kelly, I'll share with you really quick before we progress to the next slide. Okay. And it revolves around my first credit card, right? So whenever I was looking to start establishing credit, I was denied by about 2 or 3 different credit card companies because I had zero credit. I was considered a ghost. This was back in my Marine Corps days, whenever I first started my family and started my career in the military. And I was declined several times over, but didn't understand why, right? I was like, well, if I'm asking for it, you should give it to me until I prove that I can't control it, right? That's what my thoughts were. But nevertheless, I still continued to get declined. And then finally, we stopped at the convenience store. It was BP up in North Carolina. And I pulled one of the little sleeves out of the pump thing, you know, back when I used to have the hard applications right there on the pump. So I pulled one out, right? And I fill this thing out at home, and lo and behold, I get my first credit card from BP for $250, Kelly. But as I started learning how to use that card, it wasn't as much as the card that I was, it was learning how to understand the interest. If I pay $30 in gas, right, if I filled up the car at that time, why am I getting this humongous bill that I have to pay back? And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I'm only borrowing it for a short period of time. And but that's whenever I realized that's how credit cards make money, right? Interest, what you owe, right? That's what you pay back. Kelly, what was your first credit card, if you don't mind me asking you that?
I don't mind. My first credit card was a Cato store card, and it was $300.
Yeah.
And it was back in 1985.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about credit. Like I said earlier, I was one of those people that my parents didn't have credit. We never talked about it. So I went into the store, filled out the thing. They gave me a $300 card. I probably charged it up in the first couple weeks.
Yeah.
And I was looking good.
Yeah.
I couldn't pay that card.
Right.
You know, I made a couple payments on it, but because I didn't have the education and I don't want to say that I wasn't smart, but I wasn't when it came to use of credit.
Yeah.
So, when I could pay it, I would pay it. And when I couldn't, I
You
wouldn't.
didn't.
And then when reality set in and I needed to buy a car, guess who couldn't get a car?
You.
Because of that $300
Credit card.
credit card.
Wow,
I
Kelly.
had to go to a buy here, pay here lot
Listen
to
to
buy
you,
my
man.
first
You are
car.
telling your testimony today. I'm telling you, man. I love this though, Kelly. That's what makes people want to work with us and
Yeah.
trust us as an organization, is because
Right.
we got
And
real people helping
yeah,
people, man.
right. And you don't think about it, but something as small as a $300 card is going to affect you when you want to do something that you really need to do.
That mortgage,
So
car.
I'm glad to share it, because if somebody would have shared that with me, I wouldn't have looked as good walking down the street, but I would have been able to buy my first car.
Yeah, yeah. And my first automobile that we purchased as a family came with an 18% interest rate on the auto loan because of my not having credit or understanding credit, which
Mhm.
led me to start looking for the fuel card. But thank you for sharing that, Kelly.
No.
I love learning new things from my teammates. Go ahead, progress to the next slide.
Okay.
So keeping up with the Joneses can cost you, right? We know this. There are so many ways that people abuse and lose their credit cards, but I think probably one of the number one reasons is trying to keep up with the Joneses, trying to be more than what your income allows you to be. It's okay to be frugal. It's okay to be financially stable. But more importantly, it's okay to create a future for those that come after you, the loved ones that you want to create this opportunity for, so that they can have a brighter future, be it they pay for college out of pocket without having to take out loans, be it they're able to put a significant down payment on a home because they were able to save from your behaviors that you carried on or showed or taught them, right? So again, live within your means. There's nothing or no one that you should be trying to impress other than yourself to try and do better than the day you did before. Kelly, what's another reason you think people maxing out cards and just doing some of the crazy stuff that they like doing other than just trying to keep up with the Jones? That's what I
Yeah.
thought. I mean,
Yeah. I think a lot of times people just feel like they deserve it.
the good one.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
they do, they haven't gone on a trip in years, they deserve that trip. Or, and you see it all the time. I mean, it's all over the media. Like, you go here and buy now, pay later, and 0% interest. You get all these things thrown at you, and you're like, yeah, I deserve that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been stuck in my house since March. I want to go to the beach.
Yeah.
And it's would be one thing if it was just like a day trip to the beach and you had to worry about paying gas. But when you're talking about a big trip and you've got a family full, and you want to do everything that you're doing when you're there, and you just keep putting it on cards, and deep inside that you really can't pay for it.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because you deserve it.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
yeah,
Right. Because
or you'll figure it out.
yeah. Yeah.
And
Or
a
you'll
lot
come
of
back.
times,
Another good one really quick, Kelly, is that they'll come back from vacation, right, with every intention on taking the check that they're about to receive and making significant payment to repay
yes.
what they spent on the vacation out of their checking account. We can go ahead and book the hotel now, right? We go ahead and have it done on the credit card. We can go ahead and do the itineraries, pay in advance for the group trips, right? Do all these things. But they always remember, hey, I've got a paycheck coming whenever we get back, and I'll just transfer that over. But what they fail to do is, whenever they get back, is remember that commitment that they made, because now they've went to that stress-free, vacation or that I deserve that getaway, right? But when they get back and they see their checking account is still sitting pretty, or whatever the case may be, which one do you think they're going to satisfy most? Going back and paying for a debt that they mentally committed to themselves? Or do you think they're going to keep that checking account looking high and spending on other things other than satisfying that bill that they promised that they take care of, right?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you a little story. It was a coworker of mine years ago, and he was married and had a wife, and I think they had 3 or 4 kids. And he was talking about how they were going to go on a cruise in a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, and I'm making my payments, and so that when we go on the cruise, I won't owe anybody anything, and I don't have to worry about it when I came back. And I was like, well, that doesn't sound like much fun.
Right.
I'd be going on the cruise now. And he was like, no.
Yeah.
He said, that way we're going to go and we're going to have fun, and it's going to be paid off, and I'm not paying for it 2 years down the road, because there's nothing worse than paying for something after it's already gone.
Boom. And then you're probably
And I
trying
was
to make
like,
plans to do another one the next year, and you hadn't even
yeah,
paid off the one that you just had, right? Look,
yeah.
those are a lot of ways that we see often. Kelly, that's right. You hit it spot on, man. A lot of people, I deserve it. I
Yeah.
deserve it. Do you deserve that to that extent, to that amount, though? Really, honestly, be honest with yourself. You know what I mean? Like that's
Do you deserve to be stress-free after the fact? Because if you're looking at it as I deserve it, do you deserve the anguish and the fretting that you're going to have trying to figure out how to pay for it when it's all done and said and done and you still owe the money?
true story.
That's a good way to think about it because I stress out about stuff. So for me, stressing out about trying to figure out how to pay for something that is already gone and all I have are some pictures on my phone,
That is important.
it's all in the way you look at it.
Yep, this is true. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that personal experience. Let's go ahead and progress to the next slide, Kelly. How to prevent
Ooh,
this cycle. I think we've alluded to this in every single webinar we've had. Building a budget is probably the most powerful tool that you can have to protect yourself from all the little spending demons that may present themselves. Guard them off, show them the budget, push it away, pop it up, build a shield. I mean, a Superman shield with a big B on the front that says, I'm protecting myself by my budget, and I will not do anything outside of my budget commitments. However, let's go and progress to the next slide. We want you to know that although you do make this budget, you have to be open for modifications to your budget. It's okay. I promise you, it's okay. But it doesn't mean create discomfort for you to have immediate satisfaction for whatever it is that you're trying to modify your budget to do. I.e., meaning do not try and modify your budget so that you can squeeze in a quick trip that wasn't pre-planned or pre-budgeted, because now you're going to have to pay for whatever it is that you just did, plus defer back to your budget. Now you've probably blown it. Make small modifications. If you want to eat more on the weekends, like eating out, modify your budget to eat less out throughout the week. Cook 4 meals throughout the week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Order out on Friday, and then maybe do a family outing on Sunday. Grab some sandwiches and go to the park. Right? You're still working within your budget, but you're getting creative with what you can do to help reward yourself with those modifications. Reward your successes. Give yourself some pats on the back and some rounds of applauses, but at the same time, like Kelly said, don't always feel like you deserve that, right? That's a commitment you made to yourself. You may deserve something, but it doesn't mean you have to go out of bounds to reward yourself for the successes by staying within your budget, by minimizing credit card usage and protecting your credit. Hold yourself accountable and be honest in your finances. If you didn't hear anything else we said today, be honest in your finances. And I thank Kelly for sharing that. Like, man, the way she explained that, and you could tell that she got really deep whenever she went there, because I don't know if she had that level of comfort to come out at that very moment. But man, when it rolled, it was just like, whoa, Kelly, that was powerful, man.
yeah.
It even took me sitting back in my chair, like, man, am I really honest in my finances too? Like, how often do we talk to other people about their finances, but how honest are we with our finances personally ourselves? That's a big challenge to have to do every single day. If you need additional assistance with managing your credit card debt, your balances, or personal budget, please reach out to us. You can reach us at community@envisioncu.com. Again, you can reach us at community@envisioncu.com. We're here for you, but again, like we mentioned in webinars past, we can only do so much. We can meet you halfway, but it's up to you to really take control of your credit card usage, the debt, the balances, and start correcting some of those past behaviors. Like we said at the beginning of the webinar, we don't have a lot of content, a lot of new, fresh content, but we wanted to remind you that these are the commitments that you made to yourself, reminding you to hold yourself accountable, but also let you know that you've got resources and people that are here to help you. Myself, IE, as well as Kelly, our other teammate who wasn't able to join us today, but she left you in really good hands. I'm hopeful that we delivered this information in a way that it was understandable. You can retain it, but ultimately you can apply it to your everyday life. Kelly, you got anything before we sign off?
Just that hopefully you've learned that we're just like you. We've all been there. So don't feel like you can't come to us if you need to call or schedule an appointment to talk with one of us. We've all been there. Luckily, we've been fortunate to get out of that situation that we're in, and it doesn't make us better. It
Right.
just makes us a little more knowledgeable on what it takes to get you to that next level. And a little bit of discomfort. Herschel says this one the best. How does it go, Herschel?
Short-term discomfort for long-term stability.
You know, getting rid of that cup of coffee or maybe not going on that short little trip is going to set you up for success in the future. And
Absolutely.
it's, yeah.
Thank you, Callie.
Somebody needed to teach me that a long time ago.
Right. You and I both. I tell you what, man, it's been an incredible webinar, bringing this information to you all. I know you're still on your lunch break, and I want to give you some time back to get back to your lunch and kind of digest what we've been able to share with you. But do catch us next week. It'll be one of our last webinars that we're going to be hosting throughout the Facebook channel. But we do have a huge announcement coming in weeks to come with a different platform usage, and we're excited to deliver that to you. But we'll see you same time, same place next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.